start this keynote speech focusing on three main points. Why ESG is important in general, why it is important for Montenegro, and what we are trying to do to help Montenegro in its ESG journey. So why ESG is important is, first, on the environmental side, there are resource depletion, pollution, and climate change. These are global challenges, and which are going to affect all of us, no matter the politics or the different views that we may have about it. It will affect all of us, and we need to do something about it. And so those companies and those countries that are trying to do something about it will harvest the benefits in the future. On the social consideration, clearly human rights, labor practices, diversity and inclusion are shaping customer choices, business strategies, and are also helping competitiveness, because those companies that have a greater inclusion and greater social practices, they also drive better results. And the same goes with governance, because governance encompasses ethics, transparency, accountability, and it is again critical to building trust and resilience in institutions and in markets. For investors, ESG performance has moved from being a nice to have to being an imperative. And globally, the capital is shifting towards sustainable and responsible investments. And the ESG is recognized as an element that brings long-term returns because you manage the ESG-related risks. So why is it important for Montenegro? First of all, environmentally, Montenegro relies on tourism as a main source of its income. Therefore, preserving your beautiful environment is critical for the economic development of your future generations. So, and this goes with waste management, for example, goes with the wastewater treatment in your rivers, in your beautiful sea. And clearly, if you don't act on this, it will affect the economy and it will affect the future generations. So that's very important. The second is obviously the decarbonization away from coal. Coal is great, it's good to be independent, but you have beautiful sun and wind, and you have a beautiful undersea cable that connects you to Italy, which can allow then Montenegro to export and to diversify its economy away from tourism. So you can have an additional income in the country in addition to having tourism. So that's where we see a very key, important role to play for the environment and for the economy. So it's both. On the social part, youth unemployment, regional imbalances, the north, and other issues are again critical to ensure that Montenegro moves forward in terms of economic development. So it's not just an isolated nice to have, it's good to allow the country to move forward from an economic development perspective to help sustain the north, to help sustain the poorest regions, to help sustain and include gender, gender imbalanced. We have had recently an initiative on that this week where we are promoting gender and economic inclusion. I will talk about what we are doing later, but that's something that's very important for the competitiveness of the economy and of the country. And governance is probably the most critical pillar for Montenegro, because clearly, again, building trust through transparency, strengthening the rule of law, improving the public sector efficiency, combating the economy is essential for fully unlocking the country's potential. So ESG is also important for Montenegro for the EU accession. As Montenegro is progressing towards EU accession, alignment with the European ESG-related policy will become increasingly important. For example, the European Green Deal, the EU Sustainable Financial Disclosure Regulation, the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive are already shaping businesses around Europe, and Montenegro will have to move forward in this direction if it wishes to join the EU. And this is also part of the EU accession chapters, such as Chapter 27, which is the Environment and Climate Change chapter, or Chapter 19, Social Policy and Employment, or Chapter 23, judiciary and fundamental rights. So all of these are critical steps that are important for Montenegro, and that's why ESG is important for Montenegro as a subject matter. So what we as EBRD are doing about it, we are working on the green side. Last year, 89% of our financing was actually qualified as green in Montenegro. We are helping both the renewable energy infrastructure, so both renewable energy investments and the infrastructure to allow renewable energy, such as transmission lines, substations, distribution. And this is very critical if you want to attract also new investors to come to the country and exploit the beautiful sun and wind that you have. You need to have the infrastructure to deliver renewable energy capacity into the grid. So that's very important. And the EU is also supporting this through investment grants and technical assistance. So that's a combined, financing and non-refundable grants that are offered for this purpose. We are also working on the policy side. We helped the government draft the new renewable energy law last year. And we are also working with the government on the launching the auctions, which we believe will help bring in private sector investors. And also we are working on energy efficiency. We helped renovating 3 hospitals and 23 schools last year, 24 schools, sorry. And this year we're also trying to do the same with the Ministry of Education. Again, it's all ESG, but I would say it's also about thermal comfort for the students, thermal comfort for the patients, and reduction of cross-contaminations in hospitals. So there are many other benefits beyond the E, the S, and the G that should be counted when we invest in these subjects. On the social part, the EBRD is helping through advisory services. We are, as I said, working with different public institutions and with various also international, various local financial institutions, for example, through our Women in Business program or our Youth in Business program, which helps the economic inclusion of women or of youth in the youth-led enterprises in the economy. So this is one of the S part that we do. And on the governance part, we are working with the EU, with funds from the EU under the EU Reform Facility to help strengthening corporate governance of state-owned enterprises that are working with EBRD. We are working with CEDIS, we are working with the passenger train companies, the PSJ, and others. So this is part, again, of our mandate to try to help all in all this. To conclude, I think ESG should not be seen as just a nice to have. I think it's really something that is very important to drive the economic development. It has many more benefits than just simply the E, the S, and the G. And even those E and S and G benefits are extremely important for Montenegro as a whole, as I outlined. And I wish you a great event, and I would like to thank once again the organizers for inviting us.